It's the Ross Tucker Football Podcast.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Power Rankings Tuesday, one of my favorite days of the week, presented, of course, by DraftKings. You know, I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years, classic journeyman in my 20s. Now I got a bunch of media gigs, calling the Army-Navy game on Saturday on the radio for Westwood One. Really looking forward to that. Bunch of podcasts. Even Money podcast will be later on today. Really looking forward to that one always. But I love this show. I love the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It's the flagship. It's 30 minutes every day, making sure you know exactly what's going on in the NFL. And let's be honest, that you get it from a former player's perspective that I like to think is somewhat reasoned, right? Like I'm pretty objective about these things so that you can have a pretty good feel for what's going on in the NFL from a smart, reasonable take. That's the idea. The spread the word winner will be someone that quote tweets or replies to us with their Spotify Wrapped that shows how much they listened to our show this year. I love it. Could be any of them. At Ross Tucker Pod, you know, Even Money, Fantasy Feast. Absolutely love that. Can't wait to pick one of you. Jack, remind me to be looking for those to retweet them as well. Those are really cool. I think that's awesome. Sponsor confirmation email winner. Bunch of cool sponsors this week. Warby Parker, if you need glasses, I actually have them. I'm going to put them on while I'm doing that read. They're awesome. So you guys can do the same. Even got some new ones today. Rocket Money and Zengo, or Zengo, I think. Rocket Money looks awesome. Being able to track in an app like all your expenses, including all your monthly expenses. I've been wanting to do that for so long for all these streaming services and stuff. YouTube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Big fan of doing the cameo style videos for you guys. I just send you the link. All you have to do is tell me who the video is for. And that's probably the easiest one to win. That and the sponsor confirmation, because not that many people enter. So just go to youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL, make a comment and say, hey, I'd love to win the cameo style video, Ross. We do have a couple shout outs today. One is to Armand's Chagnon. Hopefully I'm saying that right, Armand. It might be Shannon. I don't know. But he's the latest patron, patreon.com/RT Media. And then I wanted to give a shout out to longtime listener Billy Grisak, and in particular, his daughter Taylor. We got an email from Billy recently asking for an old episode. I don't know if any of you remember this, but it's from years ago. And Billy and his daughter Taylor would listen to the show together, which I just think is so cool. You guys know I have 2 daughters, and I think that is amazing. Like the idea for me of picturing a dad and daughter listening to this show together is really special. It's one reason why I don't swear and try to encourage the guests not to swear. Most of them don't. That's not really the show I'm looking to go for. There's plenty of other shows like that out there if that's what you want. And then no worries if that is what you want. Evidently, Billy's daughter, Taylor, passed away unexpectedly. I don't exactly know when. And I just wanted to tell you, Billy, I'm thinking about you. I cannot imagine what that's like and what you're going for, what you're going through. I'm going to try my best to not get emotional talking about it. But, you know, it means a great deal that you and Taylor would listen to the show together. And I don't even know what to say that you were looking to find an old episode in which I talked about her because you wanted to save that. That's almost as incredible as Taylor was. And I am so sorry for your loss. And all I can tell you is we are here for you, buddy. And anything we can do. I know we're looking to try to find that old episode, but I also wanted to say this now so you had this audio of me talking about how special your daughter Taylor was and how cool it is that you guys would listen to the show together, and just a special, special thing. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
Good morning, Ross. We'll start with last night's game where Tom Brady miraculously brought back the Buccaneers to beat the Saints in the closing seconds, 17-16.
I mean, you've got to be kidding me at this point. Yeah. Brady and the Bucs were horrible the entire game. Brady missed a bunch of throws down the field to wide open guys. He threw a terrible interception to Demario Davis. Rashad White fumbled. The Saints totally dominated the entire game. But the Saints had drops at untimely times. The Saints settled for field goals 4 times too many. And Brady got locked in for the last 2 drives of the game and went down and scored touchdowns, including the game winner with 3 seconds left. It's just ridiculous. I mean, in the process, I guess he beat Peyton Manning's record for the most fourth quarter comebacks of all time. I'll just say this, right? Even in the midst of maybe his worst year ever, he still has had a couple of moments that have the Rams game, this game, that have totally reaffirmed everything he's done the other 20 years of his career. Even when he's at his worst, seems like a lot of times he still finds a way to get it done. Simply incredible. As for the other parts of the game, Andy Dalton could not have played better almost. I mean, Olave had a bad drop. Jarvis Landry had a bad drop. Taysom Hill had a drop late. Andy Dalton was not the problem. He played well enough to win. For the most part, the defense played well enough to win. They just made some critical errors late. Brady went crazy. I will say that Shaheed kid for the Saints looks like a keeper. Their young corner, Alante Taylor, looks like a keeper. I mean, the Saints have some positive things going on, but they're going to end up having a top 5 pick that goes to the Eagles, which is just, that is a difference-making player that they're not going to have. Maybe even their future franchise starting quarterback that they're now not going to be able to draft. Just absolutely brutal for the New Orleans Saints. Almost as brutal as how hard it is to find good glasses these days, which is why I am rocking right now my Warby Parkers. If you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL, Warby Parker offers everything you need for happier eyes. Everything. Glasses, eyeglasses, sunglasses, contact lenses, eye exams, and you can shop with them online or in stores. Glasses start at $95, so very affordable, including prescription lenses. Try Warby Parker's free. This is what I did, which I really liked. Their free home try-on program, and you order 5 pairs of glasses to try at home for free. There's no obligation to buy them. It ships for free, includes a prepaid return shipping label. Try those 5 pairs of glasses at home for free at warbyparker.com/Ross. Then you decide how many you want to pick or not. It's awesome. warbyparker.com/Ross.
It's time for the all-important Power Rankings. The worst team in the history of the NFL is...
Number 32, the Houston Texans.
Really hard to argue against this at this point. I don't know. Maybe they're playing Kyle Allen at quarterback because he's worse than Davis Mills and because they want to make sure they have the worst record and have the number 1 overall pick and get to get their pick of the litter in terms of the quarterbacks. Who knows?
Number 31, Los Angeles Rams.
I might have mentioned this yesterday. They have 4 standalone games coming up. They play Thursday night against the Raiders. Then they play next Monday night against the Packers. I'm actually calling that game December 19th. It's really unfortunate because you get so excited this time of year for good games and, important matchups in these standalone games. And unfortunately, the league went real heavy late on the Rams, not expecting this.
Number 30, the Denver Broncos.
So it's hard to believe that they're this low with how good their defense is. Like, I don't even know what to say. Their defense is really, really good. I forget the stat, but if they had scored like 18 points a game or something, they'd be like 9-3, something wild, some wild stat. Makes it really feel like a lost season for the Broncos.
Number 29, the Arizona Cardinals.
So they had a bye, so not much to say other than I'll be curious to see who, if anybody, goes bye-bye after the year.
Number 28, the Indianapolis Colts.
I guess we'll call it the Jeff Saturday era got off to a good start with the win over the Raiders. But if you've noticed, it's progressively gotten worse. Close against the Eagles, lost, then they lose to the Steelers. Then they get blown out by the Cowboys. It feels like the Colts are kind of going the wrong way.
Number 27, the Carolina Panthers.
Had a bye, so not much to say about them either.
Number 26, Chicago Bears.
Actually, I take that back. The Panthers did waive Baker Mayfield, who asked to be released, which makes sense because he's the third string quarterback there in Carolina. And so he is going to end up getting claimed by somebody, I would imagine. I know he's trying to get to the Niners probably, and maybe that happens. I'll be very curious. We'll talk about it on tomorrow's show where Mayfield ends up getting picked up, because I think that's interesting, especially if it is the Niners. But it's just interesting in general who would ultimately claim him in that contract at this point. Who are we on, Jack?
Chicago Bears at 26.
Weird situation for the Bears where it's like, okay, they're not going anywhere this year. So now do they want to win games? It's almost like, I do think culture and that stuff matters, but it's like they want Justin Fields to stay healthy, Justin Fields to continue to progress, but it might not be the worst thing in the world if they lose these games for their picks to be higher.
Number 25, New Orleans Saints.
I actually moved the Saints up several spots. They dominated that game last night against the Bucs. The Saints are not that bad of a team. They just have that bad of a record, and their draft pick is going to be very high and given to the Eagles, who then it'll be interesting to see if the Eagles use it or trade down and get a bunch more picks.
Number 24, the Atlanta Falcons.
Really curious. The combination of the Falcons losing and the Bucs winning makes me really curious to see whether or not Arthur Smith says, let's get a long look at Desmond Ridder. Let's give him a 4-game look. Because what are the Falcons now? 5-8, maybe? And I think they're kind of well behind the Bucs now. I guess it's still possible, but the Bucs are 6-6. The Falcons are 5-8. So they're 2 behind in the loss column, 1 behind the win column. Seems unlikely. Now, maybe they'll come back from the bye and it'll still be Mariota for 1 more game, but it seems like a decent opportunity to give Ridder 4 games and really have a good feel for him going into the offseason.
Number 23, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Really, really disappointing, surprising performance. Was not expecting that from them after their big win over the Ravens.
Number 22, the Cleveland Browns.
Don't look now, but the Browns have actually have they won a couple in a row? No, they lost in between there. But they've won a couple, 5-7. The Browns and the Steelers are in a battle to try to have a winning season, which I think is doable for both of them. You know, they both need to go 4-1 down the stretch. Probably unlikely, but doable.
Number 21, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, speaking of the Steelers, just talking about them right there. You know what I'll say about the Steelers? And I say this all the time, I have so much respect for the fact that they always just keep playing. They always keep playing, keep trying to win. Now, they have won a couple in a row, and who knows? They got a bunch of young players starting to learn how to win. I'll be really curious to see what their season ends up at. I'm also curious to see what you guys think of my new sponsor, Zengo, the simple and secure crypto wallet for everything you need. Most crypto wallets come with a private key that you need to secure. If the private key gets lost, hacked, or stolen, say goodbye to all your crypto forever. Zengo was like, wait a minute, there's got to be a better way than this. So they came up with a type of cryptography called MPC. Only been available to billion-dollar institutions until now. What it means is it's fully recoverable. Your Zengo wallet's fully recoverable. So you're not going to lose any Bitcoin anymore. It's a hacker's nightmare. They use 3-factor authentication. Zengo recognizes we're all at different levels of the crypto journey. So they got live 24/7 support. Keep your crypto and NFTs safe with next-gen tech the big guys have been using for years, thanks to Zengo. Download the Zengo app from the App Store or Google Play. That's Zengo. And use code ROSS to get 0% fees on your first purchase of up to $1,000 when you select Banza as your purchasing option. That's code ROSS for 0% fees on your first purchase via BANXA. BANXA. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details.
All right. Number 20, we have the Green Bay Packers.
They've played better the last couple games. 2-score win over the Bears. Put up 30 on the Eagles. Packers, especially on offense, are starting to show some life.
Number 19, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They still don't look very good to me, man. I mean, I don't think they're a very good team, but they still have Tom Brady, and he still finds a way to win some of these games late, but he did it against the Rams and the Saints. I mean, think about the fact at home, he even had to have miraculous comebacks against the Rams and Saints.
Number 18, Las Vegas Raiders.
3 in a row they've won. The Raiders. The 2 walk-offs and then the convincing win over the Chargers. This is a good sign. Really good sign for Josh McDaniels. He needed this, quite frankly, because it was looking like a disaster.
Number 17, Los Angeles Chargers.
Those 2 teams are close. Really close. Raiders got the win yesterday, but that game was in Vegas. Neutral site. It's really close. So it feels like the Raiders have kind of had the Chargers number these days. San Diego Superchargers. San Diego Chargers. Very, very disappointing. It's the same season every year for them. Very disappointing.
Number 16, the Detroit Lions.
There you go, Jack. Nailed it. Was it a month in a row now? They've been playing really good. I mean, they've won 3 out of 4, and their one loss was that close game against the Bills where Josh Allen had one of the sickest throws I've ever seen. The Lions Don't call it a comeback. Don't look now, but the Lions are officially respectable. Still feels unlikely that they'd make the playoffs because there's really 4 teams right now. It feels like competing for 3 spots. A lot of football to be played, but it feels like Cowboys, Giants, Seahawks, Commies, Commanders are all fighting for the wild card spots, whereas the Lions are still, a full couple games below.
Number 15, New England Patriots.
Very average. I don't know what else to say about them. I thought that was a really surprisingly poor performance against the Bills, especially on offense, but really bad. I mean, they were dominated by the Bills. I was expecting much more from the Patriots in that game.
Number 14, Washington Commanders.
I don't know what to say anymore other than they're just a good team. I mean, I know it was only a tie, but Heineke makes just enough plays for them to win or tie. Defense plays pretty well. They were not the better team in that game. I thought the Giants were the better team. So that would be one of those, Jack, if this was soccer, that it would be a good result for the Commanders that they got a tie against a team that's really kind of better than them.
Number 13, New York Giants.
Very evenly matched teams with the Commanders. It was announced that they'll play against each other again on Sunday Night Football in a couple weeks, which is a good matchup because it should be, once again, those two teams battling in a close game to see, who has the leg up for the wild card. So I thought that was a good choice for them to flex them in. And I thought it was a bad tie for the Giants. That was one where at home especially, boy, they'd be much better off if they were 8-4 rather than 7-4-1.
Number 12, Seattle Seahawks.
Huge win for them. I mean, they didn't play their best. Wasn't looking promising on the road in LA, but Geno Smith played so well. I mean, he is like the reason why they won that game. Really, really impressive. And I'll tell you what, he has more of a rocket arm, I think, than people give him credit for. He's got a pretty darn good arm. And speaking of that, how about Rocket Money? Big, big fan of Rocket Money and what they do. I've seen the TV ads for Rocket Money. I am so glad that they're getting on board in the podcast. I've actually had other people already tell me this. It is the easiest way to manage your expenses, to just have one thing to look at where you see all your expenses. And it's the best way to be like, wait a minute, am I really still paying for that streaming service or that monthly charge I don't need anymore? They even will negotiate to lower your bills by up to 20%. Do you know 80% of people have paid subscriptions that they forget about? 80%. The average person has 12 paid subscriptions. Crazy easy to sign up. Very, very easy to negotiate lower rates and to figure out, you know what? I don't need to do this anymore. Matthew B saved $120 on his Sirius XM bill, $840 on car insurance. So they're helping you in multiple ways. Very cool. Rocket Money.
Number 11, Baltimore Ravens.
Very disappointed with that team right now. They say Lamar will be out, sounds like weeks. The thing that's wild is we're about to see just how much of a difference it is between Tyler Huntley and Lamar Jackson, because I thought Huntley did some really positive things last year, actually.
Number 10, Tennessee Titans.
Only dropped them one spot, but, I mean, they're going to win that pathetic division, and they're going to host a playoff game, but they haven't looked that great the last couple weeks. It's almost like they were beat down by that Bengals loss at home because They did not really come to play against the Eagles.
Number 9, New York Jets.
Jets, Jets. They are a good team. The bar has been raised. They should make the playoffs. With the way Mike White is playing, they should make the playoffs. Right now, they're really battling with the Bengals/Ravens, and then the Dolphins in their own division, and then the Patriots and Chargers. Boy, those 2 losses to the Patriots. Yikes. Mike White started those 2 games. They win at least one of them, and they're in a much better position for a wild card. Then they'd be 2 games ahead of the Chargers and 3 ahead of the Patriots.
Number 8, Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins got punched in the mouth. Miami Dolphins made a move yesterday, Jack, before I forget. They put Austin Jackson on IR, and they signed Eric Fisher, the veteran offensive tackle, because that was an abomination against the Niners. And I think they realize they better bring in a veteran who can hold down the fort, especially with Jackson now on IR.
Number 7, Minnesota Vikings.
The Minnesota Vikings. What, Ross? You dropped them several spots. They won. How can you do that? That's not how rankings work. It's how mine work. I go by what I see. They were not the better team in that game at home. The Jets were the better team. Kudos to the Vikings. They found a way to win the game. That's all that matters. Who cares about my power rankings when it actually comes down to it? You got to win the game or lose the game. But I thought the Jets were the better team. I thought if the Jets played the Vikings 5 times, they would win on a neutral site. They would win 3 of them.
Number 6, San Francisco 49ers.
Not quite sure what to do with them right now with Brock Purdy as their quarterback. Not quite sure. He looked pretty good, but it's also just one game. I only moved him up 1 spot. It was an impressive win over the Dolphins. Defense was awesome, but I got to see more.
Number 5, Cincinnati Bengals.
They're coming. They're coming, and they're looking good. And they're playing tough football, and they're winning impressive games at Tennessee, against the Chiefs. It feels like the Bengals are basically back to where they were last year when they went on that epic playoff run to the Super Bowl.
Number 4, Dallas Cowboys.
How about them Cowboys? And they might even be getting somebody back. Tyron Smith activated off of IR, which is good. Although they did lose starting corner Anthony Brown. He's going on IR with a torn Achilles. That's a rough injury. You know, no team can really afford to be losing a bunch of guys, especially at that position late in the year.
Number 3, Kansas City Chiefs.
Feels like it's a while. It's been a while since the Chiefs. I guess that hasn't been that long. Since the Chiefs weren't top 2. Wasn't overly impressed with their O-line in the game. They didn't play that great as a team. And so I think these next 2 teams are better than them.
Number 2, Buffalo Bills.
What do the Buffalo Bills remind me of at times, Jack?
Chris Labatt Blue Light.
Yes. Nice, Jack. I that was a big test for you. Football season and the Buffalo Bills, or any team for that matter, means it's Labatt Blue Light season. Although I do love all the Bills fans sending me the pictures, emailing me or whatever, or Twitter, of them drinking Labatt Blue Light. So cool. There's no better way to watch your team on game day than with the pristine Canadian goodness of a cold Labatt Blue Light in your hand. There just isn't. Stock up and be the MVP of your tailgate and share a Labatt on game day with your crew. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer. It's Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York.
You have anything you want to say about the Bills?
Thank you, Jack. I tend to do that sometimes. Yes. Couple of impressive wins in a row for the Bills. On the road at Detroit, Thanksgiving, against a team that's won 3 out of 4, and then dominated the Patriots in Foxborough. I feel like the Bills are slowly kind of getting back on track a little bit, which is encouraging.
Russ's number one team, which is totally meaningless, but it's fun and will get many of you incredibly annoyed, is...
Number one is the Philadelphia Eagles.
You know, it's funny, Jack, because Dan Patrick asked me yesterday who I thought was the best team. And I said the Eagles. And maybe it's because I grew up there, or maybe it's because I work for the Eagles in a few different capacities. But of course, people are like, Homer. Listen, maybe I am a little bit. I don't know. But objectively, the Eagles have the best argument for being the best team. Like, even if you don't think they're the best team, they have the best argument. They have the best record. They have the best roster. They have a MVP candidate, maybe front runner at quarterback. I mean, they have the best art. Like, it's not my fault that I grew up near there or that I work for them. Like, I still got to say what I think, and that's what I think. I've been doing this for years. Have I ever had the Eagles number one in the power rankings before? I don't think so. Right now, that they deserve to be. They're very, very good. You guys deserve to win when you bet. So listen to the Even Money podcast today, because that's what we do. We win. You also deserve the best gift anybody could ever have for the holidays. Have you even gone to the website yet to check it out? myfrontpagestory.com. They got some awesome deals going right now. Shout outs. Pizza Boy Brewing, Sporticulture, HumanHeadNYC.com, SteakhouseSports.com, Go-Bangles.com, Evergreen Economics, Vision Comics with an X, BackOfficeScheduler.com. Very excited for tomorrow. We're going to be joined by Sage Rosenfels, a former Iowa State quarterback who played for Kyle Shanahan. Sounds familiar. Can't wait to get into his head about Brock Purdy and more on tomorrow's Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Obviously, College Draft is already posted. That was awesome. I think we're done here.
Thanks for listening to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Fantasy Feast, Even Money, Business of Sports, and College Draft. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.